happened there. So my job, and you probably have not received this yet, but you're going to get something like this in the mail. They were mailed yesterday. We were kind of hoping you'd have them before you got here today. So it's that time of the year when we begin to think about and dream about what are we going to look like as Parkway Hills next year. And one of the concepts that our leadership team came up with was, what would happen if tomorrow we had all the money we ever wanted? What would we do with it? What would we do with that money? You may think, well, there's lots of things we would do with that money. But you'd be surprised how many people come into money but don't really have a plan on what they plan to do with it. Actually happened to me one time. Went to visit a donor, and he said, hey, if I give you this money, what are you going to do with it? And I really didn't have an answer for him. And it was a significant amount of money. I had to go back and think about it. And I thought, wow, how interesting would it have been if I'd have actually done that on the front end. And so that's what we're going to have a chance to do here. So here's what's going on. Our church currently spends about 24% of its budget annually for this building that we worship in, that we meet in, that we have class in. And that's a significant amount of money. It's well over $200,000 a year. And we once thought, what would happen if we didn't have to make that note? Okay? So here's kind of the concept, and then I'm going to kind of get you to dream with me a little bit. So we're going to ask each person in our stewardship campaign this year, when you make your pledge, to make your pledge similar to or more than what you did last year. And then whatever that number is, add 1/3 to it for the next 3 years. So let me just give you an example. Let's say your family gives $2,400 a year to this church. This year, in 2020, you would give that $2,400 plus an additional $800. Now you may think, well, what does that solve? Actually, if we do that, we will raise enough money to offset the cost of paying for this building. And that will give us an additional $200,000 in our annual budget. It's a real simple concept. But you got to think, what would we do with an additional $200,000 if we had it? And I will tell you that the older we get, we either forget how to dream, or if we do dream, we don't want to tell anybody because it sounds childish. Some of the best dreams, I think, come from children. And I have a chart here that you're going to get a chance to look at, and some of you may have seen it when you came in. But I'm going to start with one on here that when I first saw it, I thought, I think I know what this person was trying to say, but I'm going to do a little play on words here. It says, what if I could fly? What if I could fly? Now, when we think about flying, what do we think about? The little bird gets kicked out of the nest and off she goes. She has to go fly somewhere and be on her own. They go out into the world, the big bad world, and they have to do something. Isn't that kind of what we do in church? We bring you in here. We create disciples for the transformation of the world. Isn't that kind of what we do? When we leave here, we're supposed to actually do something when we walk outside those doors. So I actually like this concept of, I wish I could fly. But here's another one. And I think Mr. Bill Flynn will be happy to see this. It says, what if we had a bed for every child? Not every child has a bed, believe it or not. We think they do. We live in Mississippi. We live in the United States. Everybody must have a bed. It's just not true. What if we could all learn Spanish to be able to speak to the immigrants in our community? What if everyone had a house to live in? You may think, 2019? Does everyone not have a house to live in? And I will tell you the answer to that question is no, they don't. And I'm not necessarily talking about who you might think are the homeless. I'm talking about people that you may actually work with right now, who may be living in their car, maybe living in a tent, You just don't know it, and they haven't told you. A giant kitchen to feed the hungry bellies. A giant kitchen to feed the hungry bellies. We provide meals in here on Wednesdays, mostly. But what if we turned it into something more than that? Shower and clothes washing facilities for the homeless. I don't know about you, but I've been around the homeless, and I think to myself, how do they do that? Where do they go if they want to wash the clothes that they have on? What happens? Where does that, do they just throw them away and go get some more? I mean, what happens there? A summer reading program. I don't know what EFES stands for. Oh, East Florida Elementary School. So there are lots of things we can do. And sometimes we just take it upon ourselves to make those things happen. That man right there thought it'd be a good idea to write this company, Bombas, see if they would donate a few hundred pairs of socks maybe. And I think they gave you 2,500. And that's just a huge blessing when you have something like that happen. But it doesn't have to be these things. I really want you to spend some time with your children or your grandchildren, because they will have the better dreams for you. We have dreams, but we just don't want to tell anybody. Kind of embarrassing. I mean, one of the things that my wife and I have talked about, and only it's because we've become aware of it, there's a program in Nashville that was started by a football player at Vanderbilt. And it's a mobile kitchen. And what he does is he goes around now with this nonprofit, and they collect food from restaurants. And then they put it all into this mobile kitchen, and they go out to where the homeless are located, and they feed them. And so here's a young man, had a dream, thought it was possible, made it happen, just like what Philip did. But what are your dreams? What do you want to see happen is the question. Yeah, we live right here in Madison, and sometimes it feels like we're in a gated community here, and everything seems fine. Go just outside our boundaries. Just go up to Canton or even north of Canton. Go out into the Florida area. Just go out into the county, and you will see a whole different set of circumstances out there that you might be able to participate in. Don't get me wrong, we're doing some great things. Bunk bed ministry, Kairos ministry, Grace Place, yarn ministry, blanket ministry, sock ministry. We're doing a lot of good stuff. But what else could we possibly do with $200,000 additional next year? And that's what I want you guys to dream about. And I really do when I say I want you to spend some time talking to your children, talking to your grandchildren. Because remember, they're down there. They've got these dreams in their head that we don't think about anymore because they've become something else for us. So take that time to spend with them. Maybe you do have your own dream. Share them with us. This is going to be hanging on the back wall, kind of as you walk out, and then to your left, and you'll see some pins. And we hope that you will spend a little time before then thinking about what you want us to do with the extra money that we're going to generate from this campaign. Thank you for your time.